our vision for the seafront this evening. I moved to Eastbourne just over 6 years ago, and I wanted to run a B&B and live by the sea and have a quiet life. So I've got 2 out of 3. It was all actually going to plan until about 15 months ago when we heard that the bandstand was closing. So just before COVID hit, the council had allocated £3 million to renovate and reopen the bandstand, and now we were hearing that it was closing. Of course, you know, many people were very unhappy about this and wondered what had happened. And I heard that the BBC were going along to the bandstand one Saturday or Sunday, and went along myself, thinking that there must be some sort of local campaign to keep it open, surely. So I went, I met a few other individuals who thought the same, but in actual fact, nothing had been organised. So we few individuals, Kerry, myself and a few others, said, okay, if nothing's organised, let's do something, let's try and save the bandstand. And that's where it all started just 15 months ago. Thank you. So our campaign was loud, it was very vocal, we were called all sorts of things, but we were determined to get to the bottom of what had happened and why the bandstand had just been boarded up. The leader of the council was saying, actually at this very meeting, that it would probably be moved. We were told that the Environment Agency was saying it would have to be knocked down. We were given all sorts of reasons why it wasn't going to be reopening. But we were not having none of that. We researched it, we investigated, and we found out all sorts of things. But after we started several petitions, we had over 6,000 names on our petitions. We were out at the bandstand most weekends, talking to people, talking to residents, talking to visitors, talking to businesses, and really getting a lot of support. We had a lot of media attention. We put up lots of banners around the bandstand. Some stayed, some were removed pretty quickly. But eventually the council found £750,000 to renovate part of the bandstand, and we were delighted to hear that it will open on the 28th of April. And in this election year, I'm convinced that it will indeed open on the 28th of April. When we were out and about speaking to people and really campaigning and consulting with people, a number of things happened. So people would say, well, you know, this is great about the bandstand, but how about Redout? What's happening with Fort Fun? Why are the lights out, seafront lights out half of the time? Why are the toilets in such a state? Several of them closed. Why are the shelters closed? There were so many issues that were raised by people. We realised that it was just more than the bandstand, and that's why we formed Friends of Eastbourne Seafront. It also enabled us to put together our vision for the seafront, all the things that I've mentioned. And when the council had the opportunity to put in a bid for Levelling Up Fund 2, they by this time had become very focused on the seafront. And so after our discussions with them, they chose to make the seafront the focus of the LUF 2 bid. And they asked us for our vision. They asked Friends of Eastbourne Seafront for our vision, which we were happy to let them have. So they swapped what we had wanted for the bandstand. They swapped that and put it into the Redout and left the bandstand really just to repair. Nothing exciting in there, no new facilities, no new toilets or bars or anything that we had put in our vision. So unfortunately the bid was unsuccessful, but our vision is still there. The consultants that put together the bid, they'd never been to Eastbourne. and had very little idea about the town and what we wanted, so that wasn't very helpful. But we understand that nevertheless what we had put forward was actually very strong, but for other reasons the council were unsuccessful in that particular bid. So our vision for Redout is to have many more activities there, not only historic tours, but to open it up for artisan markets, for tea dances, for all sorts of things. So Kerry is clicking away because I've gone out of order, I'm sorry about that. So when we started Friends of Eastbourne Seafront, we decided we would have to get a little bit more business-like. And we formed a not-for-profit company. We have an executive group with 3 of us, 3 directors, and we have a management group of 8 people who oversee all the decisions made. And of course we have our treasurer. So we've set it up as well as we can. So I'm going to go through now some of the campaigns and work that we've been doing. So it's going to be a whistle-top tour of the seafront. So the first thing we did was after the bandstand was look at Doto. So after COVID, Doto didn't start, very disappointingly. So the whole season went by and it didn't start. And the following year we were looking forward to it, and it still didn't start at Easter. So Kerry and I went to see the operations manager, James Third, and had lots and lots of communication, so we say, thereafter, because we really wanted Doto to get started. So we were told that Doto was about to be given to Stagecoach. It's owned by the council, but the lease is with Stagecoach. And we objected to that, felt it should stay in public hands and that the council should have some say about when it operated. So that sort of went by the by, the giving it over to Stagecoach. But Stagecoach really got their act together, and from the end of May last year, Doto started, and they had a very, very successful year. So much so that they were going to finish at the end of August when the children went back to school. But again, we spoke to them and said, Doto's for everyone, and it enables people who don't necessarily want to walk the length of the seafront to be able to go from Holywell to the harbour. And they listened to us and did extend their season for another month until the end of September, which is really great. As part of our campaign this year to get things going at Easter, they were very keen to work with us, and they started the week before Easter and will go on right through Easter and then weekends until the end of May. So we're really grateful to Doto, and it's a great result. So we started looking at Redout last summer, and Kerry and I managed to have an inside peek, and we found it to be in fairly good condition but covered in weeds and rubbish, and we had hoped that the council might reopen it. So we've had quite a lot of discussions with various councillors and officers, and this is what's happened is that we started putting up banners again. That particular banner disappeared very quickly. That was one of the quickest removals in all time. But the council got the message, and the Redout was cleared, the moat was cleared, workers did a lot of work clearing all the rubbish. Even though we put out, we offered to do it actually, and we put out a message on our Facebook page and asked for people to volunteer to clear it, and we got inundated with people who wanted to help. But the council nevertheless got people in and cleared it all up, cleared the moat, which is great. And they've since had surveys done on Redout. They've always known that the colonnades need to come down. We could talk to you in a bit more detail about that afterwards if you'd like. But the council have allocated £1 million to Redout now. 750,000 of that will be spent on removing the colonnades, and their plan is to create a vehicle access so that events and so on can be held in there. and also disabled access, which will be absolutely brilliant. We put in a proposal to the council and asked them if we could run events. We hope to, they seem to be quite open to that. We hope to at least be organising some tours depending on the contractors that will be coming in shortly. And the following year, they are saying that it will be open next April, so this time next year. And hopefully we can organise lots of events and get lots of people back in Redout. Just have a little drink. So we published last summer a seafront guide. Some of you may have seen it as you came in. So, and this is this year's 2023 seafront guide. We've ordered 2,000 copies, and that was just a couple of weeks ago, and we've nearly used them all. I'll be letting you know about our brilliant welcome team shortly, and they've been giving them out, and they're going down really well. So it's got lots and lots of information actually for visitors and residents. It's sponsored by some businesses, but we do need more sponsors if you know any businesses who'd like to get involved with that. It's got everything from where the defibrillators are to when you can take your dogs on the beach. It's got lots and lots of information. It's also got all the events for the year, as many as we know anyway, listed. We realised that there are lots of groups, really well-established groups in Eastbourne that are particularly concerned with the seafront. And we thought we would bring them together, and last September we did just that. So we called it the Think Tank Group, and it's about, we invited about 30 groups who have a particular concern for the seafront. And it's been very good at networking, making connections, advertising each other's events and getting involved with each other. So we continue to work on that, work together. We do fun things too, and at Christmas we had our Santa's Grotto. So we took over one of the iconic beach huts on the beach, and we held our grotto for 3 weekends. Transformed this igloo-shaped beach hut. You might recognise it, and there are some of us. So we had a Santa Paws session in the morning, and a Santa Claus session. This is quite difficult to say, you know. Santa Claus session in the afternoon, and we were inundated, particularly with dogs. We had dogs, we had cats, we had a tortoise, and we had a horse. And we had lots of children in the afternoon. So we kept the price really low. We wanted it to be accessible for as many people as possible. And every child had a good chat with Santa and Mother Christmas and a gift to go home with. So the next thing I want to tell you about is our cycle track. So you might be familiar with our skate park, and you might be familiar with the area where the skate park used to be. Gooden Park it was called. It's an area of tarmac, and that's all it is, an area of tarmac. And little children use it for learning how to ride their bikes and scooters and so on. And we did a lot of consultation with children and their families over the summer. My grandson is very interested in the skate park, so I spent many hours there watching him. And it was very clear that children who were too young really to use the skate park were there using it, and they didn't understand the etiquette. So I saw quite a few near misses. And when we got talking to the families that were with these children and the children themselves, they knew that the tarmac was there, but they regarded it as boring. It was very boring. There was nothing to do. So we had this idea about creating a cycle track. So the idea is it's a figure of 8, and it's got lines, it's got all sorts of signals, all sorts of things going on there, and children's games as well, hopscotch and so on. So we got permission from the council. Again, we put in a proposal. The council were really keen on it. We knew they wouldn't have funding, but we were prepared to sort that out ourselves. So they agreed the proposal. They gave us permission to use the land there, and we went out for funding, and we were very successful in getting funding from the John Jackson Charitable Trust. And now we've had further quotes. We're going to get wooden benches made locally, bins that will be fun for children, encourage recycling and so on. And that area will be free to use for children of all ages, preferably the younger ones. So we're very happy that we've managed that. So our Eastbourne campaign came about because we were very aware that in previous years nothing really happened in Eastbourne until about the end of May, and we really wanted to get the town going, particularly the seafront activities. And again, we spoke to Doto, we spoke to all the community groups, seafront based particularly groups, and we launched Eastbourne. So this was our flyer that we put out. Again, we've put several banners up and around, and it's been really successful. Shame about the weather, so sometimes things were a bit of a washout, but most people really enjoyed really enjoyed Eastbourne. Around Eastbourne, the hotels and the bed and breakfasts, of course, expect that to be the start of their season. So it's really important. So with the exception of Treasure Island, the outdoor garden in Treasure Island, everything else opened up, which was really, really good because there were hundreds and hundreds of people around, as you know. So I'd like to tell you about our welcome team now. So in January, mid-January, we started asking people if they would be interested in joining our welcome team. So you may already have seen them out and about on the seafront. So the idea what came from somewhere else where I used to live actually, because coaches used to come to our town and visitors used to get off the coach and go straight to the Tesco instead of around the corner to our local shops. So we really wanted to encourage them in Devon, where I came from, to go round the corner to the local shops, and we started a welcome team there, and it was very successful. So we've got some members of our welcome team here this evening. You might have noticed them in their uniform. I wonder if I could ask you just to stand up.
Brand new.
Thank you. Brand new. Thanks for that. Thank you very much. So we've actually got 44 in our team now, 44 members of the welcome team. So, and they've all been recruited still from the end of January. They've all been trained. We've been on lots of familiarisation tours. We've been very fortunate to have free open-top bus trips, Doto trips, Devonshire Quarter tour. Kim Adams took us on several tours of the town. So I wanted the welcome team to be as familiar as they possibly could with what's going on. And if that's something you're interested in, then I'll be delighted to talk to you. Because even with 44, there are still gaps in our rota. So we're out from 10 till 4 every day of the week, in 2-hour slots. So do talk to the welcome team, they'll tell you what it's like. Hopefully they'll tell you it's great fun. So that's our welcome team. The next thing would like to tell you about is our hustings. So as Chris said, elections are coming up, local elections coming up on the 4th of May. And it's very important that we make good decisions and know as much as possible about how the candidates standing feel about the town, obviously, but in particular the seafront. That's our particular interest. So we want to know what plans they've got and how they feel about it, and if they feel it's important or not. So we've been completely impartial, non-political and fair about all of this, and we've invited all the parties standing, and those are the parties standing. So we'll hear from all of those candidates, and then we're asking for you to submit questions. It's an invitation-only meeting, and those sending in questions, we'll sort them out and make sure we haven't got three about the toilets and nothing about something else. So, and then you'll be invited to ask your question, and then there'll be an opportunity to ask the candidates questions from the audience after that. So it should be very interesting, to say the least. So our vision is quite simple. As I said in the beginning, you know, we were called very political to start with, but it's never been about that. It's very simple, and it's sometimes very hard for people to understand. But it is this, that we want to see a well-maintained, a reopened, and an improved seafront. That's it. There's still so much to do. This is just the start. We've only been going for 15 months. But we'd love more people to get involved. The more people that get involved, the more we can do. If you'd like to join us on Friends of Eastbourne Seafront, membership is £10 a year. If you'd like to talk to us about the welcome team, we'd be absolutely delighted and join our team. Or if you'd like to make a donation, there's a bucket up there. So thank you very much. I'm very happy to